All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our Vision Board 2014. We're going to be going through some exercises to work on how do we make 2015 better, different, more than 2014. So quick show of hands, how many of you achieved everything you were looking for, everything you wanted to in 2014? Okay, so if you got everything achieved, I see one or two hands. How far are you on 2015? Right, so this is the idea is you want to have goals, then you want to be setting goals in advance. So I have whatever I want to do now, but then where am I going next? Where am I going further along? Okay, now one of the things I'm going to talk about today is actually using this cone and a couple of his friends. So what we're going to talk about is the idea of rules. And this is a tool, and parents, this is for you too, playing along at home. This is a tool for you to start making your life more fun. How many of you would like to have more fun? How many of you would like to have life be easier? And people at home, you should be raising your hand too, if that's what you want. How many of you would like things to be easier? Anybody? Okay, so what we're going to explain about today is the idea of rules. We're going to talk about that for a few minutes. And the idea in the rules is, can everyone say either or? Either or. Can everybody say both and? Both and. Okay, so I'm going to start by talking to the parents. And for you, ladies and gentlemen, since most of you don't have kids yet, right? We want to understand something, and it kind of help you to understand why sometimes there's friction at home. Has anybody here noticed that occasionally there's friction at home? Right, okay. So here's the deal. Parents, you know this. Sometimes you want your kids to do the right thing, but not just the right thing. You also want to do the right thing, and you want to do them at the right time, in the right place, and with the right energy, right? But realize what that is. To do the right thing, you've got to do the right thing and do it in the right time, and do it in the right place, and do it with the right energy. Does everyone hear the key word that's linking all that together? And. What are the chances that you, me, anybody is going to do the right thing and do it in the right time, in the right place, with the right energy, always?
0%, sir.
Yeah, 0%, exactly. It's not going to be you're able to do it always, sometimes. So if we have a lot of and rules, does life get easier or does life get harder? Right? So we use the example of an employee. Imagine an employee, for them to feel good at work, for them to see, hear, feel, or know they did a good job, number one, my boss has to say I did a good job. Number two, my coworkers have to say I did a good job. Number three, my clients or my customers have to say I did a good job. And number four, I got to have my picture put up on the wall. So if I got to have all four of those things happen in order for me to feel like I did a good job, how often do you think I'm going to feel like I'm doing good at work? All the time or not so much?
Not so much.
Not so much, because there's all these and rules. But watch this, right? And just for the visual, for those of you that are playing along, so we use the cones. So I have to do a good job, right? So my boss has to say I did a good job. And my coworkers have to say I did a good job. And my peers have to say I did a good job. And you can't see it because it's too big, but I got to get my picture on the wall. So how stable does that look? Right? So think about this. Whenever we're building ands, is you're stacking conditions on top. You're saying this, yeah, plus this, then we got to add this, then we got to add this. That's a lot of stuff to live up to, right? Now, what if my rules were for me to be happy at work, to know I did a good job, my boss says I did a good job, or my customers say I did a good job, or my coworkers say I did a good job, or I get my name on the board. So now notice what happens when I make those all ors. Are they all stacked on top of each other? Or could any one of them be true?
Any one of them could be true.
Right, and if any one of these is true, then I know I did a good job. How easy is that? Really easy? It's easy for my boss to say I did a good job. And it's easy for my customers to say I did a good job. And it's easy for my client. Easy for me to get my picture. Right, it's easier, but it's still not easy because who's in control of these four rules? Me or somebody else? Somebody else. My boss is crazy. So he's like this. Oh man, But my coworkers, they're crazy too. So, oh, anybody see a problem here?
Yes, sir.
But what if my customers are crazy? 3. Now all of a sudden, I can't be in control of this stuff. So even though I made them ors, instead of this, it's this or that. Because I'm not in control of that, because it's somebody else in charge. Does that make sense? We call this being at effect instead of being at cause. So how can you change your rules to say, I did this, or I did that? Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I'm going to leave it open for you to think about how that employee could do a good job. But I'm going to give you an example, and it's actually a real-world example from my life, of something I used to have as a value that was important to me in the rules so that I knew I was doing a good job, and the new values that I have. So one of my old values is something called being comfortable. How many of you would like to be comfortable? Now, how do you know when you're being comfortable? Well, I had a set of rules, and let me give you mine. Number 1, I had to feel warm and happy inside. And I had to feel loved. And I had to feel calm. And I had to feel familiar with my surroundings. And I had to feel reinforced or supported. And I had to feel stable. How often do you think I felt comfortable? Because it's not, I got to have 1 or 2 or 3 of these, I got to have all 6 of these simultaneously, then I feel comfortable. Anybody see a problem with that?
Yes.
So a person, not just me, but any person, a person who had those rules for comfort, they're going to make their life a lot more complicated. But I have a different rule. Give you a different example. Now is about being playful, happy, and cheerful. This is one of my values. I have 12. This is one of them. It's actually number 6. So how do I know I am being playful, happy, and cheerful? Number 1, I smile, with or without a reason, or I trigger somebody else to smile. Or, number 2, I laugh, or I trigger somebody else to laugh. Or I realize God's humor in the midst of a challenging situation or a challenging moment by bringing me exactly what I need to grow and expand, even if I don't feel like it. And parents, you've all had those moments of growth and expansion that you did not feel like, but afterwards you realize, well, that was really good. Number 4 is, or I help myself or somebody else to feel light, to feel warm, to feel big, or to feel happy inside. Or, number 5, I realize I'm caught up in old patterns that no longer serve my life's ultimate destiny. Or, number 6, I help myself or someone else to feel happy, healthy, safe, wealthy, or wise. Or, number 7, I create the opportunity to speak with a prospect about getting involved with me as a speaker, a teacher, an author, or a catalyst. So I have 7 rules now. But how hard is it for me to feel playful and to feel happy and to feel cheerful? Super easy. Does that make sense, ladies and gentlemen?
Yes, sir.
So I made the decision, once I became aware of my rules, I made the decision, how do I set my rules up? I get to feel good, and I can help the people around me feel good at the same time. So parents, for you playing along at home, for those of you here in the audience today, think about your rules. How do you know your kids are doing a good job? But more important, how do you know you are doing a good job? How do you measure your own progress? Is it because my kids did X, Y, and Z? Because you can't control what your kids do, and you can't control their outcomes. But can you control how you show up for them? Can you figure out a way to get the result that you want for yourself? How do you know you're moving in the right direction? So I encourage you to explore, what rules do you have for your kids? What outcomes do you want? What's the target? When they're 18, how do you know you did a good job? Now for my parents, they had 2 goals, 2 rules. Number 1, they wanted my brother and I to be able to make our own decisions. And number 2, they wanted us to learn how to live with the consequences. That meant they had to let us mess up. And as we got older, they let us mess up bigger and bigger because we got to make bigger and bigger decisions. However, they were always there to help us to put things back together afterward when we messed up pretty big. Okay? And no, all my fingers and toes are still attached, so that was a pretty good goal for them to go reach. So I encourage you, ladies and gentlemen, whether you're a parent, whether you're a child, whether you're a human being, spend the time between now and the end of the year as you get ready for 2015, as you get ready for the next year, what are the things that are important to you? And what are your rules about those things? How do you know you're getting there? Now, my 12, number 1 is to be loving and warm. Number 2 is to be healthy, vital, and alive. Number 3 is to be knowing, guided, understanding, or inspired. Number 4 is to be wise and intelligent. Number 5 is to be honest. Number 6 is to be playful, happy, and cheerful. Number 7 is to be expanding, which means learning, growing, and contributing, like I am right now. Number 8 means to be passionate. Number 9 is being helpful and grateful. Number 10 is being my best. Number 11, make a positive difference. And number 12, be creative. So if you were to describe me to somebody else, my goal is these 12 things, you would be like, yeah, that's him. Notice, though, I didn't put being punctual on there. So that's going to be one of my goals going forward in 2015 and beyond, is to be more time sensitive. We're going to make that, I'm going to see if I can add it in, and if not, it'll be number 13. And I'm not a triskaidekaphobiac, so I'm cool with having 13 values. Okay? So ladies and gentlemen, I encourage you as we go through the rest of tonight's class, working on our vision boards, think about the things that are important for you. Why are they important? And then how do you know you're scoring points? Make sense, ladies and gentlemen?